Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more predator patterning. And today, we've got another combination that I'm really excited to see what kind of pattern it can give us. Because there's a chance that this predator-oriented load might legitimately just give us a turkey type of pattern today. I don't know, it's definitely going to be a pretty interesting combination to see what happens with. But for the show we've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Salt Creek triple threat shells. They are a 12 gauge, 3-inch, 2-ounce payload of number 4 TSS shot, moving about 1250 feet per second. And these loads have been some fantastic performers for us. They've patterned well, and we did a penetration test with them with some really impressive results. So we know these are a really good shell. It's just, how are they going to perform through today's choke setup? I really don't know. I'm thinking we should see a really impressive pattern, but it might surprise us at the same time, because this combination isn't really necessarily designed to go together. But if it works out, then that'd be great. And as for the setup we've got out here today, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag with this choke. This is a Kicks Gobblin Thunder 680 constriction turkey choke. Now, as for the constriction being 680, this is about as tight of a constriction as I would want to go with these TSS 4s. I know that there are some other companies out there that produce a similar shell to that with TSS 4s, and they say that 680 is about as tight as you want to go as well. Now, with this being a turkey choke at 680, I really don't know how it's going to perform with those triple threat shells. It might work out, it might ruin the pattern, I really don't know. They have seemed to get better and better as we've gotten more and more constriction, but I really think this is probably going to be about the limit. So I would not suggest going any tighter than this for them. At least I'm not going to personally, but we're going to see how this combination can perform. But as for the test today, everything is the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper set up down there at 40 yards. I've also got the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of them. And I have some templates as well so we can put it up over our paper and see how they actually would have done in some different scenarios. So let's get you guys a view of this target. We'll take the shot, look at the chrono, and then go check out our results. I really have some high hopes for this combination because in theory it should give us a pretty impressive looking pattern, but we just don't know until we try it. So let's head over here and take this shot and just see what kind of a result we're able to get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1238 through the chrono. The boss claims 1250, so yeah, I think we're pretty well right where we're supposed to be. That's only 12 under their claim. And from what I can remember, that's pretty much where these shells like to run, is between 12 and 1250. So looking perfectly fine as far as our velocity goes up here, but how did they actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what they gave us. All right, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, for reference, the paper is 36 inches wide by probably about 40 inches tall, and that is legitimately pretty much just a turkey pattern. We have a really, really nice hot core area. It is just a little bit low, but still nice, dense, hot core area, and with TSS 4s, that's going to be devastating. Now, backing up and looking at the rest of the pattern and around the edges here, it's a little bit different of a story. Although we have that nice hot core, as we can see, the edges definitely started to feather their way open a little bit more than what we typically see with these shells. Sure, that gives you a little bit of leeway to work with, but I think we've both hit the constriction limit here, and probably with that being a ported turkey style choke, it probably didn't really help us out too much with this large of a TSS pellet going through a ported choke. It definitely didn't completely ruin our pattern, but I think we definitely hit the limit of what these shells are realistically going to take reliably. So not looking terrible here, but let's throw a couple templates up to just get a better reference point as to how it would have done in some actual real life scenarios. All right, here's our 10-inch circle, and normally I would have lined it up with our point of aim, but we were a touch low, so to get a real feel as what the pattern would have done, I did move the template down just a little bit. Either way, for a 10-inch circle, that's going to be vital size on any of your coyotes or foxes or anything like that, and clearly, that would be devastating. TSS 4s, and having that many of them in that close proximity, there's not much that's going to make it through that. So definitely looking pretty good as far as the core area goes, I'd say. But let's throw some animal templates up here and see how it would have done in a more hunting type of scenario. All right, so we'll start off here with our hog template since it is a little bit closer to something like a coyote in size. You could definitely use these for hogs as well, but you would probably be both range limited to probably about that 40-yard and in range. Plus, you would have a pretty good amount of pellets to deal with in your meat. So I would probably keep it, coyote and under myself, but still for a hog, that's plenty good enough. And we can kind of get a reference here as to a fox or coyote would be a little bit smaller than that hog template and clearly still more than good enough to get the job done all day long. So definitely looking very good as far as a hunting type of scenario or loading out to that 40-50 yard range. And with that kind of a core, you could definitely push it out to 60 as well. But let's throw the deer template up just to see what it looks like, because I know there are some people out there that would use this type of load on a deer. So I at least want to give them a little bit of a reference point, even though I probably wouldn't be the person to do it. So let's throw the deer template up and just see what it looks like. Okay, here's the deer template, and yeah, it's pretty much the same story. I wouldn't be the one to use these for deer simply because of the amount of pellets we would have in our meat to deal with, or meat damage, especially on that front shoulder area. But clearly at 40 yards, it's good enough to take you a deer. I mean, we can't even use number 4 shot, even if it is TSS here in Virginia for deer regardless. But I know some of you guys have said that you have or would use this load for deer, and clearly it's plenty good enough. So I definitely think we saw a pretty good looking overall pattern here today, but I do also think we kind of hit the limit as to what we should be shooting these shells through as far as constriction and choke kind of goes here. But still, if that's the setup you wanted to run, you could absolutely do it, and it would be devastating on whatever you would try to shoot with it, that's for sure. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can clearly see, I think this is another good indication that we clearly hit the limit of what these shells are going to like, because these wads never look like this out of these Salt Creek shells. But it is a ported Kicks choke, and they're kind of known for beating up on wads a little bit, at least in my testing. So this isn't completely surprising, all things considered, but it still did good enough to not ruin our pattern, I'd say. But as we can see, this is probably the limit as for what we should be running these through. So definitely pretty interesting to see here, that's for sure. We typically don't see wads that look quite that beat up, and I think that's a good indication as to what's going on here, that's for sure. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? Definitely looks very good in that core area, that's for sure. It would be absolutely devastating on whatever you would want to use it on. But like I've already said a number of times throughout this video, I would not push it any farther past that choke. With it being a 680 and ported, and these being TSS 4-shot, that's really about the limit that I'm going to push them to. But clearly, if that's the setup you had, or if that's the setup you wanted to use, it would get the job done for you out to that 50-yard range, and you could probably push that to 60 as well on a groundhog or a fox or a coyote or something and still get the job done just fine. But what do you guys think about it? Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Salt Creek triple threat shells, and what kind of results have you seen out of them? And would you hunt with a combination like this through a choke like 680 with them being TSS 4s? Let me know all that down below. But I guess at the end of the day, you would clearly be hitting some stuff pretty hard with that kind of a pattern. But with that being said, I'm going to get back to the testing for you guys. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox. You can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description down below if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.